Hey guys, my name is Gloria and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to go over all of the books that I read in March, do a month wrap up and see what kind of a month I had overall. Surprisingly, well not so surprisingly, but I have been trying to get through my physical TBR of my trolley and I'm doing quite well at that, but I did have a lot of books that I needed to catch up for my blog to review on there, so a few of these are ebooks as well, but a lot less editing for me this time, so that's quite good for me. The overall number that I read this month is actually 12, which is 2 less than January, but quite a bit more than February. I mean, we're all inside right now, we've got nothing else to do, and my trolley's still giving me anxiety, my TBR trolley, so, you know, get rid of as many as I can while I can, I suppose. So the first one that I read was a review one that I was given for my blog, and it was called Behemoth. I'm gonna link all the written reviews down below as well. Behemoth was about a guy that got wrapped up in a town that worships a behemoth, and then due to some unfortunate circumstances the behemoth starts going outside of their town and attacking people. I did think it was good, but there were some issues with it, but it was still quite interesting to read. The next one again was a review one. It was a novella called Urban Gothic, and I think it had quite an interesting cover to it. That kind of drew my eye to it. It was sort of an urban fantasy horror that followed a veteran suffering from PTSD and other terrible things who gets pulled into a dream world to try and save dream creatures that's connected to him more than he thought it was in the beginning. It was very fantastical, very damsel in distress hero kind of story, but again it was interesting. It was quite short, but it was good. The next one is the first physical book that I read. I've been wanting to read this for ages, and I picked up the physical copy when I was at the writing retreat last month, and it is Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay. Quite a slim volume. It was written early 1900s, I'm not sure. Yeah, I liked it. I have a full review up, I think, that I'll link. I do quite like it. I seldom watched the movie of it. There's a couple of movies and series. I've been told the movie's quite good though, so I'll check that one out. The next has another fantastic cover. I absolutely love the cover of this. This is a short story collection by Calvin Demer. I've actually reviewed a collection of his before called The Sea Was a Fair Master. I always like reading his stories, they're always great. But the cover in this one is great, I love it. The theme for this collection was celebrations from around the world. So there was Chinese celebrations, and there were Japanese and Egyptian, I think, and there were obviously some American stuff, but it's basically taking a day of celebration and throwing a horror story in there. So I liked the unifying theme, and it was quite creepy, so it was good. Then I had White Anvil, Sasquatch Onslaught. It gives you exactly what it says in the title. There's a train that has experimental Sasquatch monsters, there are prisoners, there are unfortunate civilians, and the train derails and they all have to try and survive in the snow. It's action-packed, it's mysterious, and I think the characters worked really well in it, so it was quite character-driven, so that one was a good one. The next one is also a physical one. I was sent this lovely copy bookmark as well to review for my blog. It is the first in a 3-part series, I think, although I think there's only 2 out at the minute. The Patience of a Dead Man. So this is the story of a guy who buys a house only to discover that there are ghostly scenes that continue to play out in the house, and they're a lot more dangerous than one would think ghosts would be. And while he falls in love with the estate agent who sold him the house, they have to figure out what the entire story is and how to stop it from happening. An interesting read at the beginning. It was a little bit repetitive in some of the things they were doing, but I still enjoyed it. I'll look forward to the second one as well. Next was another ebook that was sent to me to review on my blog from an Indonesian author called Dimas Rio, and it was a set of short stories called Who's There, following just ordinary people. One story in particular that stood out to me was the story of a guy who was a security guy in an office building, and he begins to think that there's someone there. He starts to find letters that shouldn't be in an office, and they remind him of things, and it's a whole big thing that he's sort of remembering parts of his life, and it really creeped me out, and it was really well written. So I'm glad I I'm glad I read that one. That one was interesting. The next that I read I swapped this for Elevation by Stephen King. Thank God I did that. But I have a full review of this as well. I'll link that. It's The Dark by James Herbert. Not quite as dark as I thought it was going to be, but it was good, and it's got that lovely old book smell. The next one I still have to write the review for this, but I did read it. It's called Come Join the Murder by Holly Ray Garcia. So our protagonists, husband and son, go off to the beach and they don't return, and she later finds that they have been murdered. Her son actually drowned as the car went into a canal, and she goes off to try and find the man who did this to her husband and son. But she gets some things wrong, which is unfortunate. But I thought it was a really good book. It's quite brutal and it deals with a lot of grief, but I think it was well written. Oh, the next one. The next one is a non-fiction book that I got from the library, and it is depressing as all hell. So this is Missing Presumed by Alan Bailey. This is about, if you haven't heard of it, the Vanishing Triangle, which I live in. So why not learn about a serial killer where I live, who might still be out there? Isn't it fantastic? Alan Bailey was part of an operation called Trace, which was set up to try and find why so many women were going missing in the Vanishing Triangle. It's the accounts of the investigations into these 6 women who were never found, and some other women whose bodies were found, and the difficulties they faced. And I mean, I like Alan Bailey because he seems just as outraged as I am. Like, the amount of witnesses who saw naked women running screaming down the street and didn't think to tell anyone for months just because they were busy is just blows my mind. But yeah, it was quite depressing, I'll be honest, because it's so close to home, quite literally. But it was a good book if you're interested in true crime, and especially if you're Irish. I would read this. Oh, the next, I don't want to talk about the next book. I did a whole reading vlog of this, so I won't say too much on it, but it is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. You can check that out if you really want to know what I think of it. I had a lot of thoughts, and it took a long time to read, so I'm gonna be getting rid of that as soon as I can. The one that I just finished today was a short story collection by William Trevor called Last Stories. He's an Irish writer who passed away in 2016, but I'd never heard his name before, but he seems to be an esteemed short story writer who won a lot of awards. I really enjoyed his stories, and I'd be happy to pick them up again. These were just sort of ordinary literary stories, but he got really in depth with the characters and was great at describing the settings and stuff, so that was a good book. 2 others that I read so this one is a little chapbook that I got for free when I went to Hodges and Figgis last October to meet Matt Hayward, Sean O'Connor and Tim Levin. Tim Levin wrote the book that the movie The Silence is based on, that's on Netflix. So they were just giving out these little chapbooks. I thought it was pretty cool. It's got 3 little short stories in it. Can't buy these anywhere, but this way you should go to more book events, you might get cool things. And the last one that was a reread for me, that I also did a video on, was just The Ritual by Adam Neville. I had a lot of opinions on this as well. I think the movie is definitely better than the book, so you can watch that video if you want to see that. So that was all of the books that I read for this month. I'm quite happy with them. I did like quite a lot of those books, but obviously I reread this knowing I didn't like it, and a few of the books I didn't quite like, so I'd say I'd give this a B- for this month. I think it was alright, but I got through a lot of my physical books, which I'm happy about, and I don't have that many backlogged for my review blog at the minute, so I'm hopefully going to get through a lot more. I don't really want to do a full video on my April TBR or anything, and I mean, honestly, this is probably like a week's worth anyway, not a month, but a few books I want to read in April from my physical TBR. I bought this like 2 years ago. It's Red Dirt by Elizabeth M. Reapy. Again, I love the cover, I love the pages. Oh, I got it at Charlie Burns in Galway. There you go, I bought it at Court, obviously. But it's about young Irish people emigrating to Australia. So I'm really interested to read this. I should have read it a long time ago. I also have another library book. I saw this in a bookshop in Dublin and I thought, I love everything that's on this cover, so I thought I'd get it from the library. It's Bending to Earth, Strange Stories by Irish Women. I want to hear strange stories by Irish women, so I'm going to see what that is like. And also I have Stephen King's The Dead Zone. I can't remember where I grabbed this from, but it's definitely secondhand from somewhere. But yeah, I haven't read a King in a while, so I'm going to get into that. That one is a chunker. How many pages is that? So it's like 500 pages, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I've done a lot of reading. I'm going to do a lot more reading. I'm assuming other people are doing lots of reading too, so there's probably going to be more videos because I have plenty of time to do that now. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe down below if you want to see more of my reviews. If you have any recommendations, you can let me know down below as well. And I shall see you in the next video.